you to the speaker of the second session of the South Asian Regional Seminar on the issue of migration in Nepal. Dr. Father Selvaraj Arunathan SJ is a Jesuit father and has been serving as the director of Indian Social Institute, ISI, Bangalore since 2015. As you are aware, this South Asian Regional Seminar is co-hosted by ISI, Bangalore. Father Dr. Selvaraj is a philosopher, researcher, and is an activist on Dalit rights issues. He was a part-time researcher on the Caste Out of Development research project conducted in India. He contributed papers to the project workshops and conferences based on philosophical analysis and field work in southern Tamil Nadu. In particular, construction of Dalit consciousness, Iran Jirai case study at the Caste Out of Development International Conference, Chennai, December 2011. While engaged as a part-time researcher, Dr. Selvaraj was appointed as the head of Dalit unit at Indian Social Institute, ISI, New Delhi, a Jesuit-run social research center. Serving there from June 2010 to May 2012, he was then transferred to as the research director of the ISI in Bangalore. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming with a loud round of applause, Dr. Father Selvaraj Arunathan SJ. To present the paper titled Impact of Distress Migration and Our Mission.
Yeah, it's okay? Yeah, thank you. Good morning, friends. And a warm welcome to this session. I take this opportunity to thank Father Principal, Father Vice Principal, and the whole organizing committee. I was really impressed from yesterday on looking at the various arrangements made here. It's very, very impressive to see very young, energetic, dynamic, and very attentive students. Very, very big number of students here. And your active participation is proved by the number of questions that you have asked. I think after we leave, I think there is also some question and answer, and then you are very, very actively participating in that. I also take this opportunity for the meticulous and detailed arrangements of the organizing committee. I think there is a good contingent of people being deployed in making all the arrangements here. I think that's also very, very impressive. Every minute detail is taken care to make this seminar very, very impressive, very productive, and very dynamic. So I take this opportunity on behalf of ISI Bangalore to thank all those people who have been involved with this. In fact, our role in this is very, very minimum. We just came as a VIP guest because we were treated as VVIP guests here, and then we just took part in the proceedings. But every groundwork was done by a huge contingent of people here. So thank you so much for all of you. With a lot of smile, with a lot of goodwill that you have been doing this one. I think that itself is a big success of this seminar. And also I thank all those people who have been presenting papers on behalf of ISI. That is very, very impressive and very, very effective one. Now I would like to share something it's not very research paper, but very informal, but very deep reflection I put into this one. The impact of a distress migration. So I'm taking that as a kind of topic, and from there how the Jesuits are involved in addressing the issue of distress migration. I would like to share with you. Maybe I would like to give you sufficient time for you to probe more by collectively thinking and then reflecting by way of asking questions. So with this a small introduction, I would like to go for this. that migration is one of the oldest institutions, maybe as old as the human race, and because of the complexity of human life and the fast changing socio-economic conditions, human migration is gaining importance day by day. And migration in itself is neither negative nor positive, but it depends on how this migration is in the society, then how the concern becomes, how the nature of the migration makes whether this is a positive or this is negative, whether this is needed or accepted to be abolished in the society. So in the past, in the post-liberal era, an unprecedented growth of labor migration causes concern. Because this labor migration, especially the forced migration, causes really concern for us. Basic factor that has influenced the mobility of human being from one region to another was uneven distribution of population and resources, unbalanced utilization of resources, and variation in economic and cultural developments. This is the one which causes a lot of concern for us. There is an imbalance in the distribution of the resources. While some people have very easy access to a vast majority of the resources of the nation, a vast majority of people are denied, are deprived of access to such kind of resources, sometimes even the basic resources. That causes a serious concern for us. There were certain areas of habitation marked as centers of habitation where people were attracted from various regions, countries, and continents. You know that. Why there is so much of out-migration from Nepal is because there is not much attraction within the country for the people to come here, but rather there is so much of a push-out factor which kind of cause for us to go out of the country, and that becomes a serious concern for us. So different parts of the world on the whole have different types of mobility caused by various socio-economic conditions. So it is basically an economic issue. When we say migration, people move from place to place or from one place to another place in search of access to economic resources or access to the livelihood resources. And there are areas where it is overly available. There are areas where it is so much of a deprived, so that people have to move out of places of deprivation to the places of abundance. So that is what we call the migration. Now there are three types of business. I am not speaking about voluntary migration. You also know that from yesterday, number of people also explained to us what is voluntary migration and what is involuntary migration. Voluntary migration is something which you are not deprived of anything, but you want to increase your resources. You want to increase your economic base, and then you move on your own. Nobody wants you to go there, or nobody forces to go there. There is no external factor for you to move out, but this is very much within you to make your life better and better. That's voluntary. Whereas the involuntary migration, either directly or indirectly, you are forced out of your own place of living, your own place of origin. And under that, I look at there are three types of forced or internal migration. One is what we call the development-induced displacement. That is a forced eviction of the people from one place to another place by the state. So it is usually happening within the state, within the country, within the nation. This is mostly due to certain projects. If you take the Indian context, from 1947, nearly 300 million people have been evicted, have been subjected to this kind of displacement. Starting with the first decade of the independence, you take to some of the dam projects, some of the lignite corporation projects, some of the road projects, some of the big industries projects. They have evicted a huge amount of people, and to this day, it is about till 2011, nearly 300 million people. That is almost how many times? Almost 15 times more population of Nepal have been evicted from their own place of living, place of origin, to other places but within the nation. That is what we call development-induced displacement. Whereas there is another one which is a cross-border migration we call the refugees. This is usually either a bilateral issue or a multilateral issue, or even within the state there are some issues which make some people to move out of their own place of origin, their own country of origin. This is mostly based on race, ethnicity, cultural homogeneity, or number of other set of communitarian issues that happens. So movement of the place, movement of the people cross border due to political and bilateral and multilateral unrest causes this kind of a migration called refugees. The racial, ethnic, social minorities and other types of people in the in the margins of the society bear the brunt of such migrants. You don't see the elite class moving out. Mostly it is the people in the margin that move out of their own place of origin to another country. This is actually cross-border migration, we call them refugees. Then we have got the internal distress migration. That is what we will be seeing more. Now, this is triggered by new economic and liberal policies and poor planning and implementation. This internally displaced people or internally forced people, this happens because of certain internal developments mainly in the economic sphere, but also there are problems in the social and political spheres where people are being forced out of their own place of origin and within the state or within the nation, sometimes maybe within the neighboring nation that happens, as it happens between Nepal and India. This is called the internally displaced people, called the internal distress migration that we call. All these three types are involuntary and hence forced either directly or indirectly. This indicates that there is a serious problem of development in a society. The more the distress migration, the greater the development issues in a society. If you look at a society where there is a more distress migration, either within the district or within the state or within the country, wherever there is a distress migration taking place, the origin place has a serious problem. Either economic problem or social problem or political problem. That is why people are not able to live in their own place, they move out. So that is called a distress migration, which indicate there is problem in the source place. That is one way. But you go into the destination place, there is again a huge of a problem there also. This is an area host of problem there. You will see housing problem, you will see labor problem, you will see the labor condition problem, you will see privacy problem, especially for the youngsters, very specifically for young women, number of other issues are there. So it's basically the problem of the place of origin also causes huge problems in the place of destination. We call this as a distress migration. Now from there, we have to look at the Nepal and the distress migration. I think you had a lot of information yesterday, 2-3 sessions. This morning also you had a lot of information with a specific reference to women. So I'm not going to share all those statistics, all those dimensions, but I would like to go a little deeper into the analysis of why this happens. Now, one of the least developed countries in South Asia. Nepal is one of the least developed countries in South Asia. I am not saying, I think you would agree with me, even if you don't agree with me, this is a fact which has been given by the International Statistical Bureau. And 80% of the population lives from subsistence agriculture in rural areas, coping with the great disparities of caste, gender, and geography. They also put this, the whole idea of a Maoist problem, because I don't want to include that one now, because now things are slowly changing in Nepal. But main problem in Nepal is the people who are mainly agricultural laborer have been pushed into kind of subsistence level. They are not a kind of a living level, but they are survival level, and much lower than there's a subsistence level. That is, you have to only hold on your life, not only hold on your breath to move from one space of time to another space of time. That is what we call a subsistence level. Poverty, unemployment, decline in natural resources, and more recently, as I said, Maoist insurgency are given as major reasons for distress migration in Nepal. Real poverty, as I said, 80% of the people live in real acute poverty here. And then unemployment, as I said, there is a very serious defect in the state policy. in the economic policy. And the decline in natural resources, because if you leave the country wide open to the multinationals, to the corporates, then your resources are simply taken away. You have no access, you have no right over our own properties, our own resources. So these are the causes identified as the important reason for distress migration. Now, why this is? Because what are the indicators? There is a poor development planning. The country doesn't have a foolproof, a broad-based, a well-tested development or economic plan for the country. As a result, there is no proper planning in place, and that does not allow the people to find jobs within the nation. So that becomes a very important one. Then continued political unrest or instability. You know that Nepal has a very checkered history of political unrest for many years, almost 5 decades. You had really political instability. There is a lot of civil war. You see a lot of time there is strikes, lockouts, there is roll rocos and then protests. As a result, people are not able to concentrate on planning, on serious economic operations. That also becomes the indicator why there is very poor economic planning for this country. And the non-participation of the civil society in the development policy making and the governance structure of the nation. A country, if you take some of the Western countries, like you go to Switzerland, if they want to take any major policy changes, they go for referendum. You know, the referendum means they send the issue, they send what the government is planning, then send the issue to the people. So they advertise, they send people. So people are supposed to take part in that.